Welcome to La Belle Edwards Stade. St. Louis against BYU. A battle of cellar dwellers. Here's the kick from Soft. The kick from Soft is returned 17 yards by Yukbatis, Skousen on the tackle. Single wing formation. Cochran in the shotgun. McGonigal hands to Harris. Harris the ball carrier, loss of 1, Leonard on the tackle. 2nd and 11. Single wing formation. McGonigal gives to Harris. Harris on the carry, no gain, Bird on the stop. Third and 11 at the 26. Single wing formation. Cochran fades back to pass. Medium hitch to Gayer. Incomplete. Cochran to Gayer, incomplete, Jukes on the coverage.
Pass interference, defense. Number 30, 15-yard penalty. Automatic, first down.
Single wing formation. Cochran barks out the signals. McGonigal hands to Harris. Harris with a gain of 2 on the play, Leonard with the tackle. Single wing formation. Cochran calls the signals. Harris with the handoff. Harris with the carry, gain of 6, Pacheco on the tackle. Third and 2 from the 49. Single wing formation. Yukbatis takes the handoff. Yukbatis with the carry, loss of 2, Wienig on the tackle. Cochran to punt. Christensen waiting inside his own 10. "27-yard punt by Cochran, return of 1 by Christensen.
Holding, receiving team.
Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Christensen at the line. Jukes pitches right to Jukes. Jukes on the carry, no gain, Johnson with the tackle. Single wing formation. Hand off to Jukes. Jukes on the carry, 2-yard gain, Hagen on the tackle. Third and 8. Single wing formation. Pacheco with the handoff. 1-yard run by Pacheco, Baker on the tackle. Soft deep in punt formation. "33-yard punt by Soft, return of 8 by Osseeker. Single wing formation. Cochran in the shotgun. McGonigal tucks it under. Cochran with a 1-yard run, Leonard on the tackle. Second and 9 from the 40. Some confusion on the defense. Single wing formation. McGonigal behind center. Short curl to Cochran, incomplete. Timeout, BYU. Third and 9 from the 40. Single wing formation. Cochran fades back to pass. Medium slant to Gayer. Incomplete. Cochran to Gayer, incomplete, Jukes on the coverage. Cochran back to punt. Christensen waiting inside his own 10. "36-yard punt by Cochran, no return. Single wing formation. Christensen from the shotgun. Jukes with the handoff. Jukes on the carry, no gain, Gayer on the tackle. Single wing formation. Jukes gives to Pacheco. Pacheco the ball carrier, no gain, Putnam on the tackle. Third and 10 at the 4. Single wing formation. Christensen fades back to pass. Medium out to Leonard. Complete. Christensen completes the pass to Leonard, flag on the field.
Offsides, offense, number 15.
Third and 12 from the 2. Single wing formation. And off to Jukes. He throws to Soft, incomplete. Jukes throws incomplete to Soft, Cochran on the coverage. Soft back in punt formation. At the back of the end zone. "41-yard punt by Soft, return of 5 by Osseeker.
Roughing the kicker, defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic, first down.
Single wing formation. The give to Christensen. He throws to Jukes. Caught. Christensen with the pass to Jukes, gain of 12, Johnson on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. The hand off to Soft. Soft on the carry, 1-yard gain, Baker on the tackle. Single wing formation. Christensen calls out the signals. Brink with the hand off. Brink with the carry, no gain, Johnson on the tackle. Third and 9 at the 30. Single wing formation. Hand off to Christensen. He throws to Waters, complete. Christensen to Waters, gain of 13, Coll on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. Give to Pacheco. Pacheco on the carry, 1-yard gain, Coll on the tackle. Second and 9. Single wing formation. Christensen fades back to pass. Christensen is running. Christensen with a gain of 9 on the play, Brooks on the tackle. Third and inches from the 47. Single wing formation. Christensen calls the signals. Current drive, 10 plays, 49 yards. They've used 3:25 on the clock. Brink takes the handoff. Brink with the carry, no gain, Putnam on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. Christensen at the line. Current drive, 11 plays, 49 yards. 3:47 off the clock. Bootleg. Christensen the ball carrier, no gain, Baker on the tackle. Single wing formation. Current drive, 12 plays, 49 yards. 4:06 off the clock. Jukes on the run. Christensen with a 6-yard run, Baker with the tackle. Third and 4 from the 41. Single wing formation. Current drive, 13 plays, 55 yards. 4:34 off the clock. Christensen fades back to pass. Medium hitch to Waters, complete. Christensen to Waters, gain of 28, Coll on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. The give to Christensen. He throws to Waters. Christensen throws incomplete to Waters, Coll on the coverage. Second and 10 from the 13. Single wing formation. Jukes tucks it under. Block Christensen the ball carrier, touchdown BYU. Soft will try the point after. Soft makes the extra point, BYU 7, St. Louis 0. Soft boots it. The kick from Soft is returned 13 yards by Murphy, David with the tackle. First and 10 from the 29. Single wing formation. Cochran in the shotgun. The snap is fumbled. Fumble. Cochran lost 4 on the play, fumble recovered by Cochran, St. Louis maintains possession. Single wing formation. Hand off to Yukbatis. He throws to McGonigal. He makes the catch. Yukbatis passes to McGonigal, gain of 12, Lloyd on the tackle. Third and 2 from the 37. Single wing formation. Cochran is back to pass. Medium hitch to Hagen. Complete. Cochran completes the pass to Hagen, 24-yard gain, Pacheco on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. Osseeker at the line. McGonigal gives to McGonigal. McGonigal on the sweep, 9-yard gain, Beckstead with the tackle. Second and 1 from the 30. Single wing formation. McGonigal hands to Yukbatis. Yukbatis the ball carrier, gain of 3, Bird with the tackle, first down. St. Louis trailing by 7. Single wing formation. McGonigal pitches right to Coll. 4-yard run by Coll, Leonard on the tackle. Second and 6 from the 23. Single wing formation. Give to Cochran. He throws to McGonigal. Incomplete. Cochran throws incomplete to McGonigal, Lloyd on the coverage. Third and 6 from the 23. Single wing formation. Osseeker back to pass. Osseeker throws to Yukbatis, incomplete. Osseeker passes to Yukbatis, incomplete, Maynard on the coverage. Fourth and 6 from the 23. Single wing formation. Cochran fades back to pass. Cochran passes to Harris. Incomplete. Cochran throws incomplete to Harris. First and 10 at the 23. Single wing formation. Christensen from the shotgun. Jukes hands to Jukes. Jukes on the carry, gain of 4, Johnson on the tackle. Second and 6 from the 27. Single wing formation. Hand off to Christensen. He dumps it to Pacheco, complete. Christensen to Pacheco, 4-yard gain, Cochran on the tackle. Third and 2 from the 31. Single wing formation. Jukes gives to Jukes. Jukes lost 2 on the play, Hagen on the tackle. Soft deep in punt formation. "37-yard punt by Soft, return of 8 by Cochran. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Cochran at the line. Pitch left to Yukbatis. Yukbatis on the carry, 1-yard gain, Bird on the tackle. Second and 9 from the 43. Single wing formation. Hand off to Cochran. Cochran throws underneath to Yukbatis, incomplete. Cochran to Yukbatis, incomplete. Beckstead with the coverage, end of the first quarter, BYU 7, St. Louis 0. Third and 9 at the 43. Single wing formation. Hand off to McGonigal. He throws to Hagen, incomplete. McGonigal to Hagen, incomplete. Pacheco on the coverage. Cochran to punt. "17-yard punt by Cochran, out of bounds. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Jukes tucks it under. Christensen on the carry, 2-yard gain, Borman on the tackle. Single wing formation. Jukes hands to Jukes. Jukes lost 4 on the play, Hagen on the tackle. Third and 12 from the 38. Single wing formation. Christensen fades back to pass. Medium cross to Leonard. Leaping catch. Christensen completes the pass to Leonard, gain of 23, beat on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. Jukes hands to Pacheco. 3-yard run by Pacheco, Coll on the tackle. Second and 7 from the 36. Single wing formation. Pacheco with the handoff. 2-yard gain by Pacheco, Baker with the tackle. Third and 5 at the 34. Single wing formation. Movement up front. Possible free play for Christensen. Jukes with the give to Pacheco. Pacheco with a 2-yard run, penalty on the play.
Encroachment, defense. Number 48, 5-yard penalty.
Single wing formation. Jukes hands to Brink. Brink the ball carrier, loss of 1, Baker on the tackle. Single wing formation. Soft with the hand off. Soft with the carry, gain of 1, Hartle on the tackle. BYU breaks the huddle. Third and 10. Single wing formation. Brink with the hand off. Brink on the carry, gain of 2, Borman on the tackle. Fourth and 8 at the 27. Single wing formation. Hand off to Pacheco. 2-yard gain by Pacheco, Gayer with the tackle. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Bootleg. Cochran the ball carrier, no gain, bird on the tackle. St. Louis down 7. Single wing formation. McGonigal tucks it under. Cochran on the carry, no gain, Leonard on the tackle. Third and 10 from the 25. Single wing formation. Hand off to McGonigal. He throws to Hagen. Incomplete. McGonigal passes to Hagen, incomplete. Cochran to punt. "41-yard punt by Cochran, return of 5 by Christensen."
Offsides, defense. 5-yard penalty.
Cochran back to punt. "35-yard punt by Cochran, out of bounds." First and 10 from the 35. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Hand off to Pacheco. Pacheco on the carry, gain of 3, Gorman on the tackle. Single wing formation. Christensen at the line. Brink takes the handoff. Brink with the carry, no gain, Baker on the stop. Third and 7 from the 38. Single wing formation. Christensen at the line. Back to pass. Short crossing pass to Reeves. Incomplete. Christensen throws incomplete to Reeves, Coll on the coverage. Soft back in punt formation. "42-yard punt by Soft, return of 8 by Cochran." Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Hand off to Cochran. He throws to Harris. Incomplete. Cochran throws incomplete to Harris, Maynard with the coverage. Single wing formation. Osseeker barks out the signals. McGonigal tucks it under. 8-yard gain by Osseeker, Leonard on the stop. Third and 2 from the 36. Single wing formation. Jet sweep with Romer. Romer with daylight. Romer on the jet sweep, gain of 19, Pacheco on the tackle, first down. St. Louis breaks the huddle. Single wing formation. Yukbatis takes the handoff. Yukbatis with a 2-yard run, Waters on the tackle. Single wing formation. Cochran calling signals. Hand off to Cochran. He throws to Yukbatis. Incomplete. Cochran to Yukbatis, incomplete. Third and 8 from the 43. Single wing formation. Harris fades back to pass. Harris will have to run. Harris on the carry, gain of 3, Leonard with the tackle. Cochran to punt. Christensen waiting inside his own 10. "37-yard punt by Cochran, no return." Single wing formation. Back in the shotgun. Jukes gives to Jukes. Jukes on the carry, gain of 2, Putnam on the tackle. Single wing formation. Christensen calling signals. Hand off to Jukes. Jukes on the sweep, no gain, Hartle on the tackle. Third and 8 from the 5. Single wing formation. Jukes with the hand off. Jukes on the carry, gain of 2, Hartle with the tackle. Soft from punt formation. Standing in the end zone. "41-yard punt by Soft, return of 0 by Osseeker. Single wing formation. McGonigal behind center. Shotgun formation. McGonigal on the draw. McGonigal on the draw, gain of 6, Reeves with the tackle. Second and 4 at the 42. Single wing formation. Cochran at the line. McGonigal gives to Harris. Harris on the carry, 5-yard gain, Pacheco on the tackle, first down. First and 10 from the 37. Single wing formation. McGonigal behind center. McGonigal on the run. McGonigal gains 2 on the sweep, Reeves on the tackle. Single wing formation. Harris takes the handoff. Harris on the sweep, no gain, Leonard on the stop. Third and 8 from the 35. Single wing formation. Harris on the draw. Harris on the carry, 2-yard gain, Pacheco on the tackle. Cochran from punt formation. "33-yard punt by Cochran, touchback. Single wing formation. Christensen in the shotgun. St. Louis jump. Possible free play for Christensen. The give to Pacheco. Pacheco on the carry, gain of 1, flag on the field.
Encroachment, defense. Number 30, 5-yard penalty.
BYU by 7. Single wing formation. Jukes tucks it under. Christensen on the carry, no gain, Putnam with the tackle. Second and 5 from the 25. Single wing formation. Bootleg. Lots of daylight. 16-yard run by Christensen, ball on the stop, first down. BYU leads by 7. Single wing formation. Bootleg. Christensen on the bootleg, no gain, Baker with the tackle. Single wing formation. Pacheco takes the handoff. 1-yard run by Pacheco, Putnam with the tackle. Third and 9 from the 42. Single wing formation. Christensen back to pass. Christensen is off and running. Christensen on the carry, gain of 9, ball with the tackle, first down. First and 10 at the 49. Single wing formation. Jukes gives to Jukes. 1-yard run by Jukes, Foreman on the tackle. Single wing formation. Christensen calling the signals. The give to Christensen. He throws to Pacheco. Complete. Christensen to Pacheco, gain of 12, Cochran on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. Current drive, 8 plays, 44 yards. 1:53 off the clock. Give to Christensen. He throws to Waters. Complete. Christensen passes to Waters, touchdown BYU. Soft will try the point after. The kick by Soft is no good, BYU 13, St. Louis 0. Here's the kick from Soft. The kick from Soft is returned 19 yards by Cochran, Devitt on the stop. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Cochran barks out the signals. McGonigal gives to McGonigal. McGonigal with the carry, no gain, Lloyd on the tackle. Single wing formation. The handoff to Yukbatis. 2-yard run by Yukbatis, Waters on the tackle. Third and 8. Single wing formation. Give to Coll. He throws to Yukbatis. Kick by Maynard at the 4. Coll is intercepted by Lloyd, return of 0. Cougars by 13. First and 10 at the 40. 0:39 in the second. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Christensen calls out the signals. Bootleg. Christensen with a gain of 4 on the play, Brooks with the tackle. Third and 6 at the 36. Single wing formation. Christensen back to pass. Short out to Waters. Incomplete. Christensen passes to Waters, incomplete, Coll with the coverage. Soft deep in punt formation. "31-yard punt by Soft, no return. St. Louis trailing by 13. Single wing formation. Slow down. Shotgun. Cochran at the line. Cochran fades back to pass. Cochran tucks it under. Cochran on the carry, gain of 11, Beckstead on the tackle, first down. End of the first half, BYU 13, St. Louis 0. Here's the kick from McGonigal. The kick from McGonigal is returned 13 yards by Christensen, Fair on the tackle. First and 10 from the 31. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Jukes with the handoff. Jukes on the carry, gain of 1, Baker on the tackle. Single wing formation. Soft with the handoff. Soft on the carry, 1-yard gain, Johnson on the tackle. Third and 8 at the 33. Single wing formation. Jukes on the draw. Jukes on the carry, loss of 1, Gayer with the tackle. Soft deep in punt formation. 43-yard punt by Soft, 14-yard return by Cochran. Single wing formation. Cochran in the shotgun. McGonigal on the run. Cochran on the carry, no gain, Waters on the tackle. Single wing formation. Hand off to Cochran. He throws to McGonigal, complete. Cochran completes the pass to McGonigal, gain of 11, Lloyd on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. McGonigal behind center. McGonigal on the draw. McGonigal lost 3 on the play, Waters on the tackle. Second and 13. Single wing formation. Cochran drops back to pass. Cochran will run. Room for Cochran. Cochran on the carry, gain of 18, Beckstead on the tackle, first down. Timeout, St. Louis. Single wing formation. Harris with the handoff. 6-yard gain by Harris, Reeves on the tackle. Single wing formation. Hand off to Cochran. He throws to Harris. Incomplete. Cochran throws incomplete to Harris. Third and 4. Single wing formation. Cochran calling signals. McGonigal sets to throw. McGonigal is off and running. Running room. McGonigal on the carry, gain of 16, Pacheco with the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. McGonigal gives to Harris. Harris with a gain of 3 on the play, Leonard on the tackle. Second and 7 from the 10. Single wing formation. Coll with the handoff. Coll on the carry, touchdown St. Louis. McGonigal will try the point after. The kick by McGonigal is good, BYU 13, St. Louis 7. Here's the kick from McGonigal. The kick from McGonigal is returned 9 yards by Brink, Rensing with the tackle. BYU ahead by 6. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Jukes tucks it under. Christensen with the carry, no gain, Baker on the tackle. BYU breaks the huddle. Single wing formation. Brink with the handoff. Brink with a gain of 1 on the play, Hagen on the tackle. Third and 9 at the 27. Single wing formation. Jukes fades back to pass. Jukes tucks it under. Jukes with a gain of 6 on the play, Johnson with the tackle. Soft deep in punt formation. "37-yard punt by Soft, return of 8 by Osseeker. Single wing formation. Cochran from the shotgun. Yukbatis with the handoff. Yukbatis gets to the second level. Yukbatis on the carry, gain of 18, Pacheco on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. McGonigal gives to Coll. Coll on the carry, gain of 2, Lloyd on the tackle. Second and 8. Single wing formation. Cochran at the line. Bootleg. Fumble. Cochran on the carry, no gain, fumble recovered by Nutbattis, St. Louis maintains possession. Third and 8. Single wing formation. McGonigal behind center. Medium hitch to Cochran, complete. McGonigal completes the pass to Cochran, gain of 28, Pacheco on the tackle, first down. First and 10 from the 14. Single wing formation. McGonigal with the transfer. McGonigal with a gain of 7 on the play, Lloyd on the tackle. Second and 3 from the 7. Single wing formation. McGonigal behind center. McGonigal on the draw. McGonigal on the draw, no gain, Bird on the tackle. St. Louis trailing by 6. Third and 3 from the 7. 5:34 in the third. Single wing formation. Stacked line. Cochran calls the signals. McGonigal running. Cochran on the sweep, touchdown St. Louis. McGonigal will try the point after. McGonigal converts the extra point, St. Louis 14, BYU 13. McGonigal to kick off. The kick from McGonigal is returned 16 yards by Christensen, Murphy on the tackle. Single wing formation. From the shotgun. Jukes with the handoff. Jukes on the carry, gain of 1, Putnam with the tackle. BYU trailing by 1. Second and 9 from the 26. Single wing formation. Give to Christensen. Christensen checks down to complete. Christensen completes the pass to Pacheco, gain of 8, Cochran with the tackle. Third and 1 from the 34. Single wing formation. Brink with the handoff. Has an opening. Brink the ball carrier, gain of 27, Cochran with the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. Transfers control to Jukes. 7-yard gain by Jukes, Coll on the tackle. Second and 3 from the 32. Single wing formation. Christensen calls out the signals. Bootleg. Christensen the ball carrier, no gain, Brooks on the tackle. Third and 3 from the 32. Single wing formation. Christensen calls out the signals. Jukes with the handoff. Jukes on the carry, loss of 1, Brooks on the tackle. Fourth and 4 from the 33. Single wing formation. Hand off to Christensen. He throws to Brink. Incomplete. Christensen to Brink, incomplete, penalty flag.
Illegal shift, offense. Number 57, 5-yard penalty.
Single wing formation. Cochran from the shotgun. McGonigal gives to McGonigal. Big hole. McGonigal with a gain of 14 on the play, Beckstead with the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. Harris with the handoff. Harris lost 1 on the play, Beckstead with the tackle. Single wing formation. Pitch to Harris. Harris lost 4 on the play, Knudsen on the tackle. Third and 15. Single wing formation. Cochran drops back to pass. Long outside pass. Incomplete. Cochran throws incomplete to Gare. Cochran to punt. "39-yard punt by Cochran, return of 10 by Christensen. Cougars trailing by 1. Single wing formation. Christensen from the shotgun. Jukes running. Christensen on the sweep, 5-yard gain, Gare on the tackle. Single wing formation. Christensen calling signals. Jukes running. Wide open field. Christensen on the sweep, gain of 11, Foreman on the tackle, first down, end of the third quarter, St. Louis 14, single wing formation. The hand off to Brink. Brink with a 2-yard run, Baker on the tackle. Second and 8 from the 47. Single wing formation. Jukes gives to Jukes. Room to run. Jukes on the sweep, gain of 41, ball on the stop, first down. Single wing formation. Jukes tucks it under. Christensen gains 1 on the sweep, Brooks on the stop. Single wing formation. Pitch left to Soft. Soft lost 4 on the play, Gare on the tackle. Third and 13 at the 15. Single wing formation. Christensen fades back to pass. Medium cross. Caught by Waters in the end zone. Christensen completes the pass to Waters, touchdown BYU. Soft will try the point after. Soft makes the extra point, BYU 20, St. Louis 14. Here's the kick from Soft. The kick from Soft is returned 11 yards by Murphy, Strom on the tackle. Single wing formation. McGonigal behind center. Shotgun. McGonigal barks out the signals. The snap is fumbled. Fumble. McGonigal with the carry, loss of 4, fumble recovered by Cochran, St. Louis maintains possession. St. Louis trailing by 6. Second and 14 from the 21. Single wing formation. Give to Cochran. Cochran checks down to Hagen. He dropped it. Cochran throws incomplete to Hagen, Pacheco on the coverage. Third and 14. Single wing formation. Cochran sets up in the pocket. False. Cochran on the carry, 8-yard gain, Bird on the tackle. Cochran to punt. "44-yard punt by Cochran, return of 1 by Christensen. First and 10 from the 28. Single wing formation. Shotgun. The give to Jukes. With daylight. 30-yard gain by Jukes. Coll with the tackle, first down. Penalty flag.
Encroachment defense. Number 13, 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
First and 5. Single wing formation. Jukes running. Christensen running room. Christensen with a 11-yard run. Coll on the tackle, first down. First and 10. Single wing formation. Jukes tucks it under. Christensen on the sweep, 11-yard gain. Gayer with the tackle, first down. First and 10 from the 15. Single wing formation. Give to Christensen. Christensen passes to Leonard. Incomplete. Christensen throws incomplete to Leonard. Second and 10 from the 15. Single wing formation. Bootleg. Christensen with a lane. Christensen on the carry, touchdown BYU. Soff will try the point after. The kick by Soff is good, BYU 27, St. Louis 14. The kick from Soff. The kick from Soff is returned 15 yards by Yukbatis, Strom on the stop. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Hand off to Coll. 1-yard run by Coll, Reeves on the tackle. St. Louis down 13. Single wing formation. McGonigal tucks it under. Cochran with the carry, 5-yard gain, Pacheco on the stop. Third and 4 from the 29. Single wing formation. St. Louis in a hurry up. Cochran fades back to pass. Cochran will have to run. Cochran on the carry, gain of 3, Knudsen with the tackle. Cochran to punt. "37-yard punt by Cochran, return of 5 by Christensen. Single wing formation. Shotgun. The hand off to Jukes. Jukes on the carry, 1-yard gain, Hardle on the tackle. Second and 9 from the 37. Single wing formation. Christensen working very slowly. Jukes with the give to Brink. 3-yard run by Brink, Brooks on the tackle. Third and 6. Single wing formation. Christensen working very slowly. Bootleg. Christensen with a 2-yard run, penalty on the play.
Holding, offense. Number 24, 10-yard penalty.
Soft to punt. "32-yard punt by Soff, return of 10 by Cochran. Single wing formation. McGonigal behind center. Shotgun. McGonigal on the run. McGonigal on the carry, no gain, Leonard with the tackle. Second and 10 at the 36. Single wing formation. Hurry up offense. Hand off to Cochran. He throws to Harris. Picked off by Bexton at the 49. Cochran is intercepted by Bexton. Return of 0. Single wing formation. Shotgun. Jukes gives to Jukes. Jukes on the carry, gain of 3, Johnson with the tackle. Single wing formation. BYU in no hurry. Jukes hands to Jukes. Jukes on the carry, gain of 2, Baker with the tackle. Cougars by 13. 3rd and 5. Single wing formation. Christensen taking his time. Jukes running. Christensen on the sweep, no gain, Johnson with the tackle. Soft back in punt formation. Cochran standing inside his own 10. "29-yard punt by Soft, no return. Single wing formation. Cochran in the shotgun. Yukbatis with the handoff. Yukbatis on the carry, gain of 4, Reeves with the tackle. Single wing formation. St. Louis hustling to the line. Cochran barks out the signals. Hand off to Harris. Harris on the carry, gain of 6, Bird on the tackle. Third and less than a foot from the 25. Single wing formation. Hurry up. Bootleg. Running room. Cochran on the carry, gain of 10, Pacheco on the tackle, first down. Single wing formation. Hurry up. Yukbatis takes the handoff. Yukbatis on the carry, no gain, Leonard on the tackle. Second and 10 at the 35. Single wing formation. St. Louis in a hurry up. Cochran barks out the signals. Yukbatis with the handoff. Yukbatis the ball carrier, no gain, Leonard with the tackle. Third and 10. Single wing formation. St. Louis in a hurry up. Cochran fades back to pass. Cochran tucks it under. 9-yard run by Cochran, Pacheco on the tackle. Fourth and 1 from the 44. Single wing formation. Hurry up offense. Hand off to Cochran. He throws to Gear. Cochran is intercepted by Jukes, return of 17. Single wing formation. Shotgun. Christensen barks out the signals. High snap. Fumble. Christensen lost 6 on the play, fumble recovered by Kimball, BYU maintains possession. Cougars by 13. Second and 16 at the 49. 2:33 in the fourth. Single wing formation. Christensen fades back to pass. Short slant to Reeves. Incomplete. Christensen throws incomplete to Reeves, Coll on the coverage. Third and 16. Single wing formation. Christensen calls out the signals. Christensen takes a deep drop. Christensen is off and running. Christensen with a gain of 9 on the play, Gorman on the tackle. Soft deep in punt formation. Seeker waiting inside his own 10. "40-yard punt by Soft, out of bounds. Single wing formation. Shotgun formation. Cochran calls out the signals. He fades back to pass. Long out pass. Caught by Gayer at the 32. Fumble. Cochran completes the pass to Gayer, touchdown BYU, fumble recovered by Pacheco, returned for a BYU touchdown. Soft will try the point after. The kick by Soft is good, BYU 34, St. Louis 14. Here's the kick from Soft. The kick from Soft is returned 12 yards by Cochran, Devitt on the tackle. St. Louis trailing by 20. Single wing formation. Cochran in the shotgun. Drops back to pass. He checks down to Harris. He dropped it. Cochran throws incomplete to Harris, Beckstead on the coverage. Single wing formation. Cochran is back to pass. Cochran dumps it to Harris, complete. Cochran completes the pass to Harris, gain of 2, Maynard on the tackle. Third and 8 from the 29. Single wing formation. Give to Cochran. He throws to Harris. Cochran is intercepted by Devitt, return of 0. Jukes will take a knee. Jukes will take a knee. Jukes will take a knee. BYU 34, St. Louis 14.